He's recognized by many as among the best in the world, pound for pound. From Ackerman, Ukraine, the two-time world champion, reigning, defending WBO junior lightweight champion of the world, Vasyl Lomachenko.
Alright guys, welcome back to the E1 Combat channel. Alex speaking here. So before I jump into this breakdown, I want to give you guys a heads up. So in these upcoming weeks until 2020 is over, I will be breaking down a bunch of fights. So honestly, at the moment we haven't had that much time to record, and since this year has been very chaotic, it's been very difficult for all of us to just basically sit down or get together and just record a bunch of tutorials and drills for you guys. So in honor of that, or in place of that, I'm actually going to be breaking down a bunch of these fights. So this week Teofimo Lopez will take on Vasyl Lomachenko, and in honor of that, I will actually be breaking down one of Vasyl Lomachenko's fights. And the fight I will be breaking down is the fight that you guys will see here shortly, which is the Vasyl Lomachenko versus Miguel Marriaga fight. So with this breakdown and future breakdowns, I won't get too much into detail. I will just try to make the video short, sweet, and simple. So one of the things that I liked that Miguel Marriaga did early on was the fact that he threw this right hand. And if you guys know anything about conventional wisdom in boxing, you guys know that the right hand is a very important weapon to use against the southpaw fighter. And one of the things that made this right hand like a good idea, in my opinion, was the fact that Miguel Marriaga threw this right hand, but not to go headhunting. He actually threw this right hand to the body in hopes of slowing down Vasyl Lomachenko in the later rounds. Although sometimes this right hand didn't find its target, just for the mere fact that Vasyl Lomachenko is very good at manipulating distance and not being in a position where he's going to easily be tagged. He also used this right hand to kind of set up his left hook. In some of these clips, if you pay very close attention, sometimes Miguel Marriaga would throw that right cross to the body, or that straight right to the body, and he will follow up right away with a left hook upstairs. So another thing that Miguel Marriaga did quite well was the fact that after every combination, he would actually circle out towards his left side or Vasyl Lomachenko's right side. So you guys will see him constantly move towards his left side, which is a very smart idea because conventional wisdom states that you kind of need to circle away from your opponent's power hand, but at the same time it's kind of unuseful when you're going up against a fighter with such great IQ like Vasyl Lomachenko, because eventually he will find a way to block out that exit, and that's exactly what Vasyl Lomachenko did, as you guys will see in these following clips. So here Vasyl Lomachenko applies pressure. He closes the distance, and if you guys pay very close attention to their feet, you see that Vasyl Lomachenko establishes lead foot dominance. So this pretty much blocks out that left exit that Miguel Marriaga was constantly using, and now it kind of forces Miguel Marriaga to stick in place. That way he doesn't really circle around Vasyl Lomachenko's left hand. So this was very important for Vasyl Lomachenko just because Miguel Marriaga was so mobile in this fight, and it seemed like Vasyl Lomachenko constantly had to chase him. But right now we actually see how Miguel Marriaga was actually trapped in with Vasyl Lomachenko's punches as well. Overall, the right hand was a very important weapon for Loma, but one of the punches that was really effective was the right hook. Like I mentioned, Marriaga was constantly moving towards his left or Loma's right side. So in hopes of trying to block out that exit, Loma would use that right hook as a way to make him think twice about moving towards that southpaw right side and keep him in a position where he would be able to line up and connect the left hand. On top of that, the footwork Loma used was also very important to get that angle for the left hand. Here's an example. So here both fighters are pawing at each other's lead hand, something very common in orthodox versus southpaw fights. You will see Miguel Marriaga on his back foot trying to circle to his left or Loma's right, but Loma catches him with this right hook, which in my opinion kind of looks like a hybrid between like a gazelle punch or a small check hook. But Loma simply just uses it to box in Marriaga. Then he uses that footwork that we all know about to slide out to Marriaga's left side to block him from proceeding with his movements. He repositions himself and his body for the left hand, which he throws in this case as a left uppercut. So I'll show you guys once again the clip, but in real time, that way you guys can actually see it in real speed being applied. So Loma would start closing the distance with the right hook and sliding to the right, but on top of that, Loma used basic fundamentals to trap Marriaga throughout this fight. Instead of depending on power punches much like Marriaga did, he used his jab. Loma would specifically use his double jab to close the distance between Marriaga and himself. This would allow Loma to get closer to Marriaga because with the double jab, he would cover more ground going forward, closing Marriaga's left side, which would stop Marriaga from circling away from Loma and allow Loma to throw those calculated punches and bunches. And here's a prime example. As you can tell, Loma is a bit far away from Marriaga to be able to punish him with that constant volume of punches he usually wears down his opponents with. So he needs to close the gap, and he does this with his jab, but instead of doubling up on that jab, he will actually throw it 3 times. And pay close attention to his legs. As he steps in to establish lead foot dominance. This will trap Marriaga to prevent him from moving towards his left or Lomachenko's right side, and this will also give the opportunity for Lomachenko to land this short combination. So the right hand was a key factor for Lomachenko's victory throughout this whole fight. The right hook and the right jab allowed Loma to close that left exit of Marriaga and kept him boxed in long enough to land combos. On top of that, on screen you see all the right hands Marriaga missed, which Loma started either timing and sometimes even counter punching. So those right hands by Marriaga at the beginning of the bout were pretty much useless. Lomachenko eventually found a range in which he wasn't able to be tagged by them, and at the same time he had an opportunity to counter punch them sometimes. So those right hands that Marriaga threw at the beginning of the bout were useless basically. So Loma was able to apply a lot of pressure as the rounds went by. The more the rounds went by, the more volume Lomachenko started to throw, which kept wearing down Marriaga. Lomachenko did manage to drop Marriaga twice, once in the 3rd round and another in the 7th round. Right now you guys will actually see these clips coming up, but overall, man, this was basically the key factors to Lomachenko's victory. And like I said, I'm not really gonna get too much into details. I'm not gonna break down the knockdowns or none of that, man. I just wanted to give you guys, just a little bit of an insight on what Lomachenko did or some of the adjustments he did throughout this bout. Other than that, man, that basically will be the end of this video. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and honestly I hope that you guys do watch the fight tomorrow. I think it's gonna be quite an interesting matchup between Lomachenko and Lopez. And if you guys want to follow me on my social media, our personal one or our team Instagram, it will be down below. Thank you guys for watching.
That is it. Fight is over.